You're joking right now, right? The woman's voice, already pitched somewhere between a shriek and a whine, ratcheted up another notch. Her face, a moment ago, a picture of bewildered frustration, was now a blossoming crimson. My imaginary scanner, still clutched in my hand, let out a silent, mocking beep beep beep. Yeah, this was going to be a fun afternoon. Just moments before, I'd been perfectly content. My domain was the tile aisle, or rather, the lack of one. I'm a contractor, and my current gig was pulling up old flooring in this big box store. Dust, grout, the rhythmic thud of my pry bar against stubborn adhesive, that was my jam. I had my tools spread out, a veritable fortress of hammers, scrapers, and buckets around me. Nobody, and I mean nobody, mistook me for an employee. Until her. She was a middle-aged woman, shopping cart overflowing with what looked like enough pasta sauce to last a small village through winter. She'd approached me earlier, actually complimenting my work. "My goodness, you're so fast," she'd cooed. I've never seen tiles come up like that. I just grunted a thanks, figuring that was the end of it. Wrong. "Hey, excuse me," she'd said a few minutes later, hovering over my little construction zone. "Could you, ring me out? This line is just insane." She pointed a manicured finger toward the distant, legitimate checkout lanes. I looked at her, then at my dust-covered work gloves, then at the massive "Do Not Enter" construction zone sign a foot from her cart. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I don't actually work here," I replied, trying to be polite. "I'm just a contractor." "Here to pull up tiles?" Her smile didn't falter, but a flicker of irritation crossed her eyes. "Oh, come on, sweetie. Just this once? I'm in such a hurry." She gestured vaguely at her overflowing cart. "You look like you know what you're doing. What's the difference?" And that's when the little imp on my shoulder took over. I'd been prying up ancient linoleum for hours. A little human interaction, even if it was absurd, sounded oddly appealing. "All right," I said, a mischievous grin spreading across my face. "Just this once." I straightened up, wiped my dusty hands on my jeans, and walked over to where she'd pushed her cart near a display end cap, nowhere near a register. "Okay, let's get you checked out." I grabbed a random plastic toy from the display, pretended it was a scanner, and started making exaggerated beep 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 sounds as she held up each jar of pasta sauce, each box of crackers. Initially, she seemed to play along, even chuckling a bit as I scanned her items. "That's it, another one," I'd exclaim, making a particularly loud beep with my mouth. But as the imaginary pile of scanned items grew, and more importantly, a real line of confused customers started forming behind her, drawn by the spectacle and perhaps hoping for a new, magical checkout lane, her amusement began to curdle. Her brow furrowed. Are you actually scanning my groceries?" she asked, her voice tight. "Because I don't hear a real scanner, and this line is getting ridiculous." "I don't think you are." I lowered my toy scanner, unable to hold back a chuckle. "Oh, no, ma'am, I'm just pretending, remember? I don't actually work here. I'm just here for the tiles." My grin was wide. The amusement vanished from her face, replaced by pure, unadulterated fury. "You what?" she shrieked, the volume surprising even me. "You've been mocking me? This is unprofessional. This is absolutely despicable. You need to be fired for this. Get me your manager now." Before I could even register her full meltdown, a weary-looking manager, who'd clearly been drawn by the rising commotion and the bizarre sight of a contractor scanning groceries with a toy, appeared. His eyes scanned the growing queue, the woman's contorted face, and finally me, still holding my plastic scanner. A sigh escaped him. "Ma'am, is there a problem here?" he asked, already sounding defeated. "A problem?" she yelled, pointing an accusatory finger at me. "This man, this creature. He pretended to wring out my groceries. He mocked me. He made a fool of me. I demand he be fired immediately." The manager glanced at my dust-covered clothes, my tools, and the exposed concrete where tiles used to be. "Ma'am, I'm very sorry, but he doesn't work here. He's a contractor. He's just here to, pull up the old tiles." Her face went from red to a terrifying shade of puce. "I don't care. He was behind a register. He pretended. He needs to be disciplined. I want him out of here. I never want to see his face in this store again." The manager rubbed his temples, a man clearly at the end of his rope. He looked at me, a silent plea in his eyes. "Look, buddy," he said, turning to me, I appreciate you trying to help, I guess. But for everyone's sake, maybe you should stick to the tiles. Or, just take an early break for the day. He gave me a pointed look that screamed, "Please, just leave before she calls corporate." I couldn't help but crack another smile. "Yeah, no problem, Chief. My break just started." I put the plastic toy back, retrieved my pry bar and bucket, and started packing up my tools. As I walked past the fuming woman and the long line of bewildered customers, I could still hear her ranting to the manager about customer service and insubordination. Honestly, I was still chuckling when I got to my truck, getting fired from a job I didn't even have. For pretending to scan groceries with a toy? Yeah, that definitely topped my list of strange work stories. And for the record, my silent beep 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 game was on point.
This next story might destroy your faith in humanity, but first subscribe so we can keep making these videos.
Oh, thank goodness. You're finally here. I've been waiting all evening for someone from the hardware store to get to this wretched thing. My jaw practically hit the porch floor. My older brother Tom stifled a laugh next to me, elbowing my younger brother, Leo, who was already snickering into his candy bag. We were standing on Miss A's porch, 3 grown men in makeshift handyman costumes, dripping candy into our bags, and this sweet elderly woman was looking directly at me, specifically at the ridiculously authentic, grease-stained apron I was wearing. The one I'd bought from a secondhand store months ago. Yeah, that apron. And suddenly my Halloween was looking less about candy and more about plumbing. Let me back up a bit. My name's Jasper, and this whole delightful mess started, as most good stories do, with a random thrift store find. I'd snagged this truly awesome vintage-looking canvas apron, the kind with all the little pockets for tools, slightly faded, a bit grubby around the edges. I thought it was cool, hung it in my closet, promptly forgot about it, as one does. Fast forward a few months and Halloween rolled around. I was rummaging through my closet for costume ideas when I rediscovered the apron. A light bulb went off. "Handymen," I declared to Tom and Leo. "They're usually game for anything, especially if it involves minimal effort and maximum candy." So, we cobbled together some flannels, grabbed a few old wrenches and screwdrivers for props, and boom, a crack team of vaguely competent, sugar-fueled repairmen was born. The apron was my star accessory, lending a touch of professional credibility to my otherwise questionable handyman aesthetic. We'd been having a blast, collecting an embarrassing amount of candy and making terrible dad jokes about fixing people's spirits with chocolate. Our last stop for the night was Miss A's house. She's a lovely old lady who lives alone a few blocks over, always gives out the good stuff, full-sized bars, none of those mini wimpy things. As she opened the door, her eyes, a little hazy with age, immediately locked onto my chest. "Oh, hello, boys, and you," she said, pointing a gnarled finger at me. "You must be the one they sent about the leak." My brain did a full system reboot. The leak? Who sent? I glanced at Tom, whose eyebrows were practically glued to his hairline in amusement, then at Leo, who was actively trying not to burst out laughing. Miss A?" I started, trying to sound as polite as possible. "I don't actually work for the hardware store. This is just, a Halloween costume." I gestured vaguely at my flannel and the apron. She peered at me, then at the apron, then back at my face. Her gaze softened slightly, but a persistent glint remained in her eye. "Oh dear, well, you look the part, and you're here now, aren't you? My kitchen sink has been dripping something fierce for 2 days, and I just can't get anyone to come out on a holiday." She wrung her hands. "It's quite a mess." I felt a pang of guilt. The poor woman really did look distressed. And okay, maybe the apron was a little too convincing. Tom, ever the practical one, stepped forward. "Miss A, Jasper doesn't work for a store, but he is pretty handy. And Leo and I," he added with a grin, "we're practically master plumbers. Happy to take a look if you don't mind a little amateur hour." Miss A's face lit up. "Oh, would you? That would be just wonderful." So there we were, 3 handymen on Halloween night gathered around Miss A's leaky kitchen sink. Tom and Leo, who actually are decent with a wrench unlike me, who usually just calls a professional, quickly assessed the situation. They bantered back and forth, one holding a flashlight, the other tightening a loose pipe, while I stood there, feeling slightly useless but lending moral support and looking the part, I guess. They worked like a well-oiled machine, occasionally asking me to hold this or pass that, making me feel like an honorary, albeit less skilled part of the operation. In less than 15 minutes, the dripping stopped. Silence, pure, beautiful, non-leaky silence. Miss A was over the moon. She insisted we stay for hot apple cider and, true to her generous nature, loaded us up with even more full-size chocolate bars. "You boys are lifesavers," she exclaimed, patting my apron as I left. "You tell that hardware store they have excellent, dedicated employees." Tom and Leo didn't let me live it down for weeks. "Hey Jasper, need to fix my leaky faucet. Mr. Hardware Store?" Leo would tease. But honestly, it was one of the best Halloweens we'd ever had. All thanks to a forgotten second-hand apron and a little lady who genuinely needed some help. And I guess sometimes looking the part is just enough to get the job done, with a little help from your brothers.
You what? My manager, Mr. Henderson, sounded like he was trying to swallow a scream. His voice was all statusy over the phone, but the incredulity was crystal clear. You called her a troll-faced, inbred barnacle? To her face? Aubrey, you realize I just had to ban one of our longest-standing, albeit most problematic customers because she was screaming about you? I leaned back against my kitchen counter, picking at a loose thread on my apron, the one I wasn't supposed to wear anymore because, as of yesterday, I was officially out. Yeah, I did, Mr. Henderson, and honestly, I regret absolutely nothing. He sighed, a long, drawn-out sound of resignation. She parked in the handicap spot again, Aubrey, no sticker, and then she went full banshee when Jennifer tried to explain our refund policy, said she wasn't leaving until you served her. Well, she got served all right, I mumbled, a wry smirk spreading across my face. Just not the way she wanted. Let me back up a bit. You guys know me, Aubrey, queen of the dramatic tales. This one isn't quite dramatic in the usual sense, more like a pressure cooker that finally blew its lid. See, I'd been working 2 jobs for the past few months. My old gig, flipping burgers and slinging fries at the Daily Grind, a local fast food joint, and my new, much better paying office job. The double shifts were brutal, honestly. I'm a pretty organized person, but even I was feeling the burn. Luckily, my last day at the Daily Grind was yesterday. I was finally done. Today, though, I'd gone in to pick up my final paycheck and say goodbye to my work bestie, Jen. We were supposed to grab coffee after her shift. I was still wearing my Daily Grind uniform top, partly out of habit, partly because I hadn't had time to change after a quick errand before heading over. Big mistake. Huge. I was chatting with Jen behind the counter, laughing about some ridiculous customer from last week, when a familiar monstrosity of a car pulled into the parking lot, a beat-up, oversized SUV that looked like it had been through a monster truck rally. It screeched to a halt, not just in, but across 2 handicap spots, right by the entrance. And, surprise, surprise, no handicap sticker in sight. Oh, for crying out loud, Jen muttered, spotting it too. It's her. Her was Karen. Not her real name, obviously, but she earned it. Karen was a notorious regular. Always complaining, always demanding, always convinced she was owed something extra because her chicken sandwich was too crispy or her fries were too salty. A true joy to behold if you like watching entitled people exist. I'd had the misfortune of dealing with her more than once, and each interaction left me needing a strong drink and a long nap. Before Jen or I could even react, Karen was bursting through the doors, a storm cloud of fury trailing behind her. She bypassed the empty register and marched straight up to us, her face a mottled red.
You, she shrieked, pointing a gnarled finger straight at me. You're the one who served me that disgusting dried-up piece of garbage yesterday. I want a full refund and compensation for my gas money. I had to drive all the way back here.
I blinked. Ma'am, I actually don't work here anymore. I just came in to pick up my last check, and yesterday I didn't serve you. Jen did. I gestured to Jen, who gave Karen a tired, knowing smile. Karen's eyes narrowed, completely ignoring Jen. Don't you lie to me. I know it was you. You're wearing the uniform, aren't you? Get me your manager. I want my money back, and I want you fired. Jen, bless her saintly soul, stepped forward. Ma'am, as Aubrey said, she's off the clock. And regarding your order from yesterday, the refund policy is clearly stated on the menu. If you have a problem, you need to bring it back within an hour. This is nearly 24 hours later, and there's nothing we can do for dissatisfaction." Karen scoffed, her voice rising in volume. "Oh, so now you're going to argue with me too? I don't want to talk to you. I want her to fix it." She jabbed her finger at me again, practically vibrating with indignation. "You fix my order right now, or I'm calling corporate. I'll have your job, both of you." The audacity was breathtaking. I was still absorbing the fact that she was demanding I serve her, despite me saying I was done, when she started cussing. Full-on, sailor-grade cussing, aimed directly at Jen. My blood started to simmer. Jen, who had to put up with this daily, who was just trying to do her job and maintain some semblance of peace. "Ma'am, please calm down," Jen tried, her voice wavering slightly.
"Calm down? I will not calm down. You think you can treat customers like this? I pay your wages."
Karen was now red-faced, spitting venom. She took a step closer to Jen, practically in her personal space. That was it. My final filter, the last shred of professional decorum I'd been clinging to, snapped. I didn't work here anymore. I had nothing to lose. I took a deep breath, stepped around Jen, and planted myself directly in front of Karen, effectively cutting off her rant at Jen. "Listen here, lady," I said, my voice low and steady, which usually means I'm about to lose it in a spectacular fashion. "First of all, I don't work for you. I don't work for this place anymore, actually. Secondly, Jen is one of the kindest, hardest working people I know, and you will not talk to her like that. Ever." Karen paused, taken aback by my sudden shift in demeanor. "Oh, so now you're getting sassy? Fine. Make me my damn drink and some extra tartar sauce and make it snappy."
"No," I said simply. "I'm not making you anything. Because, again, I don't work here."
"And even if I did, after that disgusting display, you wouldn't get so much as a napkin from me." I took another step closer, leaning in slightly, my voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "You want to know what you are, lady? You're a troll-faced, inbred barnacle, clinging to everyone else, sucking them dry and leaving nothing but slime behind. Now get out of here before I call the actual police on you for harassment and illegal parking." The look on her face was priceless. Pure, unadulterated shock. Her jaw went slack, eyes wide and unblinking. She literally froze mid-sentence, her mouth still slightly open. I just stood there staring her down, feeling an exhilarating rush of pure, unadulterated satisfaction. Then Mr. Henderson, the owner, who must have heard the commotion from his office, came rushing out, looking utterly bewildered. He took one look at Karen's stunned face, then at my defiant one, and instantly knew something catastrophic had happened. "What in the holy seal is going on here?" he exclaimed. Karen finally found her voice, a sputtering, outraged squawk. She just insulted me. She called me She couldn't even bring herself to repeat it, her face turning an even deeper shade of puce. Mr. Henderson stared at me. I just shrugged. She was verbally abusing Jen and parking illegally. I told her what I thought. Later that evening, Mr. Henderson called. He apologized to me for having to deal with Karen, acknowledging that she was notoriously awful. But as a business owner, he still had to ban me for my language, even if I was off the clock. A symbolic gesture, he said. He understood completely, but appearances. I told him it was fine. I literally didn't work there anymore. As for Karen, oh, she didn't take her serving well. Apparently, she went full nuclear after I left, screaming, throwing a plastic tray and refusing to move her car. Jen said it was a spectacle. Mr. Henderson had no choice but to ban her permanently from the daily grind, and when she still refused to leave the parking lot, he actually called the police. She got a ticket for illegal parking and a stern warning for disturbing the peace. Jen, meanwhile, couldn't stop laughing. She said my description of Karen was poetic. Reflecting on it, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have gone so off the rails. But sometimes, guys, you just hit your limit. You just gotta stand your ground and not let entitled, obnoxious people walk all over you, especially when they're abusing someone you care about. Life's too short for troll-faced, inbred barnacles. Thanks for listening to my unfiltered rage quit story. Stay sassy, fam.
If you liked this video, you'll want to check this one out next.